It's Nicole with Soulful Sounds, and I am back for another conversation about mindfulness and mindfulness topics, just trying to be a joyful noise in the world, especially with all this chaos that's going on. The last conversation I had and I left with you a few weeks back, I think, was manifesting. And in that video, we talked about the drunk monkey. We talked about how we process and store information. We talked about the amount of information that we're receiving versus the amount of information that we can consciously receive. So if you haven't watched that yet, I invite you to go to my YouTube channel and check that out, and that's going to build a good platform or foundation for this video, Power of Presence, stepping into your divinity, because we do have a lot more gifts and a lot more power and a lot more freedom than we give ourselves credit for. And I just really want to bring this back into focus for ourselves and just share with you some of the ways that you can step into your power, step into your divinity, and co-create with the universe something that feels perfect for you. Today, I definitely want to talk about the power of presence, but before we talk about the power of presence, I feel like I need to talk about trance and what that means. So when we're in trance, which is honestly quite often, we spend a lot of time in trance, we are kind of on autopilot. And so think about if you played any kind of sports or anything, think about how often you practice and why, right? Because you needed it to be part of your muscle memory. Because once your subconscious gets it, the muscles in your body, because your brain is all of you, all of this gorgeous body is part of your brain. And so once it becomes automatic, you don't need to consciously think about it anymore, right? It's part of your muscle memory, and that's part of your subconscious processing, thinking, and learning. So think of it on that scale. So like example, driving a car, right? When we're driving a car, we can black out for a while, right? Kind of wake up and go, oh crap, where am I? How did I get here? Because we have driven for so many years of our life that we no longer really need to consciously or be in presence with that. We can think about what we're doing 5 minutes ago, 5 minutes from now, 5 years ago, 5 years from now, and still drive the car, right? Same with like watching TV. We don't really need to think about it when we're watching TV. It's a mind break. A lot of us come home and we want to take a mind break, right? So we turn on something on the TV and kind of, just go into trance with watching TV. Scrolling on social media is the same way, right? We're taking that mind break. We're being stimulated, we're receiving information, but we're not doing it consciously. We're just kind of scrolling through, trying mindlessly, excuse the pun, trying to scroll through and just find whatever it is that kind of catches our attention or stands out. Meanwhile, we're receiving all of this information as we're scrolling through, as we're watching the television show, as we're driving past the billboards and listening to the commercials on the radio. These are all the things this is all information that's going into our subconscious and in that trance state. Being mindful, again, I think I need to recap, being mindful again that our conscious mind is our filter, right? It decides yes, no, black, white, fact, fiction, right, wrong. That's what the conscious mind does. And the unconscious mind or the subconscious mind is a sponge, right? It just picks up information. It is what it is. It's not right. It's not wrong. It's not truth. It's not fiction. It just is what it is. It's information. And so it's receiving all of this information when we're in trance and we're not making this conscious choice is this information that serves me or does it not serve me? Okay. So I just wanted to talk about trance real quick before we go into different aspects of the power of presence. So that's what it's like when we're not being present, right? When we're not actively co-creating with the universe, we're passively co-creating. We're just kind of in that muscle memory, doing what we've always done, okay? But we are supercomputers, and we have this amazing gift inside of ourselves to have multiple programs open in the background and still function in our daily life. And so that's actually a really cool thing, that we have the ability of, I don't think about my breath, I don't think about my heart rate, I don't think about my cell rejuvenation, my digestion, any of that thing. I don't have to think about that. That's all just programs running in the background, right? So we have this information coming in from within, information coming from without, and we're just processing, like amazing supercomputers. And so why is it important to understand the power of presence and the power of trance? Well, because if any of you have taken any kind of sociology, psychology, or even marketing, then you know that marketers have a very, very good understanding of the power of trance and the power of emotion and the power of images and how we restore memory. So it's really important if they know that we also know, because that gives us more of our own power. We're in our divinity in that way. So marketers know, and marketers are hired by politicians all the time. So politicians are using marketing, and so are all of the products that we see out there in the world. They're all using a lot of these techniques, yet the average American doesn't really know any of these things about how we work, how we operate, and how we receive information, how we use that information for fight, flight, or freeze. So that's why I think this is an amazing topic. I'm already getting kind of deep in. So, well, we understand that their marketing understands. So how do we store memory from emotion? I can't remember if I talked about that in the last video or not. So memory, we store our emotion through our memory, right? And so that's why I say our whole body is muscle memory, right? Our whole body is part of this supercomputer, right? And we store this information through our emotions, memories through our emotions. So think about how we receive information with our senses. So I might receive information with my senses through sight, sound, taste, smell, or touch, right? And that information might be triggered through a memory, or might trigger an emotion. That information triggers an emotion which is attached to a memory. All right, so making this simple, what does that mean? Think about the last time you had a fight with someone that you really love. And when you're thinking about that fight, oftentimes we can remember the feeling of that fight right away, right? Like how I felt. I was really angry, or I was really hurt, or I was really shocked, right? Like we're in the emotion way before we can recall the details. So that's why that's important, because my memory is going to be then stored by my emotion, and then my emotion is going to help me recall the details. Think about it. Give yourself a test. Like think about something that was some way distraught to you, and then when you're in that, do you receive the memory or the emotion, or do you receive the details first? Most of us will say, with a few outliers, most of us will say that we receive the emotion and then the details. So that's how we store a lot of our own memory, right? And so when we have a memory, when we have information that triggers an emotion to a memory that we don't consciously have information for, something in our childhood, maybe a childhood trauma, or something that was really exciting in our childhood, something, so we have an emotion that's attached to this memory that we really can't recall, okay? And maybe it is a trauma. So we have an emotion attached to a memory that's attached to a trauma. And this trauma brings up some sort of feeling for us that the emotion is, maybe it was a fight, flight, or you felt unsafe. And you felt unsafe because you felt unheard, or you felt unseen, or you felt unheard, you felt unseen, you felt out of control in your own life in some way or another, right? And so we don't remember the details because it was too far back for us to even recall the details, but we can still recall the emotion of that memory, right? Because we are still a supercomputer based on survival, right? So our subconscious memory is going to receive information, and then it's going to bring up information that is stored that is similar to information that it has in the background on autopilot. So we have this emotion, that we have this sensory information that comes in, sight, smell, something. Sensory information comes in. We have this emotion that shows up, but we don't have the details because the details are too far back. But we have this feeling, and this feeling is an uncomfortable feeling. And so now I feel unsafe because of this feeling. And so now I'm going to respond similar to the way that I think I should have responded when I felt unsafe before. So if I felt unheard, I might yell. I need to be heard, right? You didn't hear me when I was younger when this trauma thing happened, and I need to be heard now, and so I'm going to yell. Or I need to be seen, and so you might stand up more, expand, try to make yourself bigger. It's just how we are primitively. That's what we do. Some of you maybe your thing was I don't want to be seen. I need to hide. And so you either try to run from the situation, or a lot of us, we get aloof and we kind of hide or retreat inside of ourselves and just kind of shut it down, right? This is how we are responding to memory that's stored through emotion in our body. And it's kind of complex because oftentimes we are responding to emotion, to a memory we don't remember, like the details of, and then we're reacting to it because we're not responding to it. Does that make sense? Like, I'm not questioning, why do I feel this way? I don't know why I feel this way. Doesn't make sense that I feel this way. I have this feeling, and then I have this reaction to the feeling, right? And that's not right, wrong. That's just how we are. We're not really taught, hey, question your emotion. Is the emotion a true emotion? We're not really given those tools when we're younger to even express those emotions, right? You get upset with your sister or your brother, and you get angry, and you get punished for the action, but never is the emotion addressed. So it's not okay for you to be angry because you got angry and you pushed your brother or sister. You got in trouble. So they didn't really say anything about the emotion, just the action, but you attach that emotion, the action or the punishment, with the emotion that created the action, right? So that we don't really express our emotions well or even discuss them. So that's why I'm kind of sharing some of these things with you now. And the reason why I think this is important for us to know is because we've talked about trance, and we've talked about how our emotions are stored through memory, and we talk about how we're going to react to those emotions, whether or not we even understand the details of the memory, right? So how is this something that marketers can use for themselves, okay? So, we already talked about trance. We know that we're driving down the road and we're in trance because we don't really need to be there, and we pass a billboard. And on that billboard, we see a soap product and a baby animal. And we love baby animals. It's a baby duck or a polar bear or a little baby penguin, something just absolutely adorable that we absolutely love. Little baby ducks and penguins and polar bears, they're the greatest, right? And so we have this emotion, this like nurturing emotion. Now, we're driving down the road, so we're not consciously thinking about it. So we've seen the image of the soap, we've seen the image of the baby animal, and we have an emotion about the baby animal. And so the subconscious then stores that soap in the same place it stores that baby animal, and so they're in the same place together. So next time we're at the store, we go right for the baby animal, right? Because, same thing with a cheeseburger, right? How many times do you see a beautiful woman eating a cheeseburger? And what are we attaching that to? It's a primitive needs of desire, right? I really desire that woman. I would love that woman's attention. And so now we are attaching the desire, the emotion of desire is now the memory of the cheeseburger too, right? So that's how we play them back and forth off each other. Scrolling through Facebook, we see a picture of a politician, and we see two or three words that don't feel good to us, that make us feel uncomfortable with that politician. I'm not sharing that you should love or hate anyone. I'm just saying that this is how we process information. So I scroll through, I see this politician, I see these two words that I really don't like, that make me feel uncomfortable, and now I've also transferred that, I've created another link with that emotion to that image. Are we seeing how this is working? And that's why it's important that we pay attention and we give ourselves tension on the information that we're receiving in a day. Because these are the techniques that are being used in marketing and politics to help us or persuade us to make decisions. They take images of things that they're trying to sell, connect it to images with emotions, and then our subconscious, when we're in trance, which we are often, right? We're watching TV, scrolling through Facebook, or driving. We are in trance often. So now we're transposing the image and the feeling, the image and the feeling, the image and the feeling, right? And that's how we're doing it. And so when we want to make good choices for ourselves, we need to be very conscious of the information that we are receiving. Okay? I'm just looking at my notes because I wanted to keep this short, and sometimes I bunny trail. So why it is important to then sales. Oh yeah, I wanted to talk about this too. Salespeople do the same thing in person. So, and this is an NLP technique. So you go to a salesperson and like buying a car, you go to the car dealership, and the car dealership starts trying to fish for people that you might have in common, or people that you know that they know. And then they start using those keywords that oh yeah, that guy, he's really great, right? He's such a loyal friend, and he's such an honest guy, and I've always really loved him for his integrity, and they start using these key words that you maybe agree with. Maybe this friend of yours is honest, loyal, and has a lot of integrity, but you're not connecting those words to that friend anymore. You're connecting those words to the person that's speaking them. Another way that people can get you. So we need to be mindful, because we want to make choices that are good for us, for our future, and not a choice that's good for someone else. So we need to be mindful of the information that we're bringing into our awareness and how we're bringing that information into our awareness so that we can make good decisions on what it is we want to create in our world. That's the difference between being an active co-creator and a passive co-creator, right? If I'm actively co-creating in my life, then I'm making conscious choices on what information I want to receive and what information does not serve me. And I am limiting and filtering information that does not serve me and receiving more of the information that does. And so how can we use these techniques then to actively co-create in our life? Well, if we're going to be in a trance-like state while we're driving, if we're going to be in a trance-like state while we're watching TV, if we're going to be in a trance-like state when we're doing social media, then we need to make sure that we are creating filters for ourselves and that we're viewing the world in a way that serves us. So when you're looking at information, ask yourself, does this serve me? And if it doesn't, get rid of it, right? It doesn't serve you. So when you're going, a thing that I like to do is when I feel like I'm going to be in trance, or if I'm watching TV, I make sure that I don't watch any commercials, right? So everything is streamed, and I'm typically trying to watch things that have some kind of positive impact in like, I like the storyline, I think that it's positive, it serves me in some way, it promotes me in some way, and that's how I kind of make my TV choices. And then when I'm driving down the road, again, I'm streaming music, I'm not listening to commercials at all. And I'm listening to things that are going to be in the background that maybe I'm not going to be completely aware of, but they're going to serve me anyway. A podcast that makes me feel good, or a bunch of music that I feel connected to, that makes me feel empowered, that gives me the emotions that offer me the tools that I need to feel perfectly in an alignment with myself, or in tune with the universe around me. Vision boards are something that's great, because as we're walking around our home, this is why vision boards are really helpful. When we're walking around our home, wherever we have these vision boards, if we're in trance, we're still receiving that information, and that information is good information, right? It helps us, it serves us, it reminds us, it's a trigger for the goals that we have for ourselves, right? And so keeping those goals that we have for ourselves in different places, like affirmations, right? Using that vision board to create affirmations that serve you towards your goals, and you have those scattered around, and that's going to serve you in your work or wherever it is. Those are ways that you can use information to help co-create what it is you desire in the world. Because if you're moving towards something, then you're co-creating. If you're moving away, if you're trying to avoid, get away from, then you are you're passively co-creating, because we're running away, which is what we don't want. We don't want this, we don't want that. Now, I did say in the beginning here, start filtering, right? So if this information doesn't serve me, then I don't need it in my everyday life, right? This information doesn't serve me. That's different from running away from something. So we're not trying to run away, we're trying to move towards. And when we're doing this moving towards, we're aligning ourselves with information and tools that we have that are going to help us co-create the world it is we want to see. So those are things that I think are good action steps that you can take to start being more conscious of the information that you're receiving, and then ultimately, trying to make that point or make that decision. When I'm looking at a sign, or I know I'm going to pass a billboard, I look at it consciously. That does not mean, that is not my truth. That does not serve me. And I'm making those decisions. And I know it sounds crazy, but I want to be a player in my own game. And if I'm going to be a player in my own game, I need to be very mindful of what it is that I'm receiving, and does it serve me. I hope that helps you, because I know that it was a little bit longer than I wanted to go, by twice as much. So if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please put those down below. But this was it was a deep topic, and there was a lot to talk about there. So I hope that this does serve you. I hope that you like, share, and subscribe. If you have any questions for me, please reach out in any way that you feel comfortable, either through social media, email. There are multiple forms of ways to communicate with me. I offer vibrational sound therapy, and that is work that we do to really dive deep into processing some of these feelings and deciding, is this information true? Is this information no longer serving me? And working through those kinds of things. If you're interested in vibrational sound and giving that a try, I do group and private sessions, so please reach out. Thank you for journeying with me. And